Hi there, Daily Gardeners. Jennifer Ebling here. I just want to give a quick shout out to the folks who have left a review for the show over on Podchaser during the month of April. I want to give a heartfelt thanks to Minnie Garrett, Valerie Tropical Gardener, Matthew Sartor, and @Bringer. Thank you so much for leaving a review for the show, especially during the month of April. You know, this month, all month long, Podchaser is willing to donate 25 cents for every time a podcast gets reviewed over on their website. And then when I reply to that review, they double that contribution to World Central Kitchen, which is the organization where chefs provide meals to people fleeing Ukraine. So hats off to Podchaser for picking such a great cause. If you have a chance and can leave a review for The Daily Gardener over at podchaser.com, it's so easy to do and so much good can come from it. Today's episode is brought to you by the Daily Gardener Friday newsletter. You can sign up for the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. Hi there and welcome to The Daily Gardener, a podcast about garden history and literature. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and today is April 22nd. Before we get to today's garden history, I want to wish you a happy Earth Day. This is a celebration that started back in 1970, so I hope you're doing something like maybe enjoying some time outdoors on this Earth Day in 2022. Today in garden history, we celebrate a letter that was written by the English writer and poet Mary Russell Mitford on this day, April 22nd in 1812. Mary was writing to an English banker, politician, and amateur artist named Sir William Elford, and in her letter, she wrote these words: I place flowers in the very first rank of simple pleasures, and I have no very good opinion of the hard worldly people who take no delight in them. And today we celebrate the birthday of Julius Sterling Morton, who was born on this day, April 22nd in 1832. J. Sterling was an American newspaper editor, Secretary of Agriculture, and the father of Arbor Day. In 1867, after moving west from Detroit, J. Sterling and his wife Caroline were shocked by Nebraska's treeless landscape. Together, they conceived of a day to promote tree planting. Now, the original proposal to the Agricultural Board of Nebraska was for a Sylvan Day to promote forest trees. Remember, in Latin, silva means wood or forest, and Sylvanus was the Roman god of woods and fields. But J. Sterling decided that a broader celebration of all trees was in order, and so he proposed Arbor Day. And the first Arbor Day on April 10th, 1872 was an overwhelming success, with over 1 million trees planted on the frontier of Nebraska. After that, Arbor Day quickly became a yearly national holiday, celebrated every year on April 22nd to honor J. Sterling Morton's birthday. But nowadays, Arbor Day is celebrated on the last Friday in April in the United States. And this year, in 2022, that day is Friday, April 29th. It was J. Sterling Morton who said, "Other holidays repose upon the past, but Arbor Day proposes for the future." And today we celebrate the birthday of the German botanist Wilhelm Eichler, who was born on this day, April 22nd in 1839. Wilhelm developed one of the first widely used natural systems of plant classification to reflect evolution. And he divided the plant kingdom into floral plants and non-floral plants. And it was Wilhelm Eichler who said these words: "The felling of the first tree is the beginning of human civilization. The felling of the last is his end." And today we celebrate the birthday of the Dutch biologist and writer Midas Dekker, who was born on this day, April 22nd in 1946. Now, Midas has written over 50 children's and young adult books, and he describes one of his books this way. It's about the way things fall apart, about the inevitable ruin of everything, from bodies and works of art to ideals and whole societies, and it's called The Way of All Flesh, The Romance of Ruins. And it was in his book, The Way of All Flesh, that Midas wrote these words. It's a sign of wisdom that seeds don't squander their energy all at once, instead calmly waiting until the time is right. Seeds aren't stupid. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, The First Mess Cookbook by Laura Wright. This book came out in 2017, and the subtitle is Vibrant Plant-Based Recipes to Eat Well Through the Seasons. Now, I see here that Amazon is reminding me that I purchased this cookbook back in August of 2020. And so to review the book today, I had to run over into my kitchen about 15 steps away here and grab my dog-eared copy of The First Mess. I love this cookbook. If you're looking to totally revamp the way you cook, if you want to make plants the star of most of the dishes that you're making, especially in the summertime, then you need to get a copy of Laura Wright's The First Mess Cookbook. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. It actually looks more like a book than it does a cookbook, which is another thing that appeals to me. It's so pretty that I can have it out and on display in my kitchen, and it's just like it's designed to be there. It's so beautiful. The cover's kind of a gray, and then it's got greens on the cover, and then the text is very, very simple and elegant. Now, before I get into the cookbook, I wanted to share a little story with you that Laura wrote in the introduction. I'm going to flip to it here. And she's talking about a little job that she had in the summertime here, one of her first little summer jobs. And she writes this, raspberry picking throughout the humid Ontario summers was my first job as a youth. And I suppose this is where the inspiration for my blog, The First Mess, began. I would put on my rubber boots, grab a basket, and head toward the back of my parents' 2-acre property in the country. At the end of the line were rows of raspberry bushes heaving with fruit under the steamy July sun. One berry in the basket, one in my mouth. My brother and I would get $2 for every pint we could scrounge up, and Dad would sell them at his farm market store the next day. I don't think I ever made it to more than $10 a pick. I was too busy eating those warm berries that tasted of jam, nectar, and light. That all-sensory field experience is my first clear memory of connecting to food beyond the notion of hunger being satisfied. Isn't that a sweet story? Well, a couple of other things that I really like about this cookbook is, first of all, the way Laura organizes it. She is organizing it by the way you're going to use it. And so she starts out with mornings and breakfasts, then soups and stews, salads and dressings, hearty mains and big plates, vegetables and a couple of grains, energizing drinks and small bites, and then finally desserts and small treats. So I love that. And also, I just want to say that she starts out with mornings and breakfasts because she's a morning person and she loves breakfast. And so it's great to know that about her because I think that just makes her breakfast items a little bit more special than someone who maybe is a cookbook author but not such a big champion of breakfast. Now, one other thing I want to mention about Laura's cookbook is that she starts out with a really helpful guide to stocking your pantry for success. So this is the time of year when most of us are doing some spring cleaning. And if your pantry is something that you're struggling with, if it's gotten a little crowded over the last 2 years during the pandemic, or if it's just no longer serving you, take a look at what Laura puts in the front of her cookbook because it's one of my go-to guides. I refer people to this all the time for stocking your pantry for success. Now, I just wanted to take a few minutes and call out some of my personal favorites from Laura's recipes. So this is definitely not a comprehensive list. There are many, many recipes in this cookbook. But personally, I'm a huge fan of her cookies for breakfast, and I would send those along with the boys on their way to high school because they, of course, don't allow any time for breakfast, and so these cookies are fantastic for that. Now, my husband and I love her vanilla coconut coffee creamer, and then her eggplant bacon. Oh my gosh, is that so good? So, I run into people all the time that are asking, what can I do with eggplant? This is a recipe that I always bring up for that. And she gets the flavor just right, and she does that by using maple syrup. I'm going to look here: apple cider vinegar, smoked paprika, light miso, and soy sauce, and a few other ingredients, but those are the key ones. That's fantastic. Okay, well, here's one I just used for Easter, the small batch roasted soup. This is the foundation for the recipe that I used to make my asparagus soup. That was a major hit. Let's see. Oh, the cider and sunflower dressing. So good. She uses a little maple syrup and a little Dijon mustard in this. She's got a really good corn salad, if you like corn salad. And then this is one of my summer favorites. Oh, I forgot about this one. It's sesame cucumber noodles, or you could use regular noodles. I've done both, but it's with melon and avocado. What a fantastic combination. Melon and avocado. You've got to give it a try. And then the sesame adds that savory. So it is so good. Oh, and then here's this one. Warm balsamic mushroom salad with pine nut parmesan. I know. It's too much. Anyway, I could go on and on about this cookbook. Let me see if there's just anything else. I'm flipping through these pages here. Okay, she's got a cauliflower with spices. It's the walnut sauce that you put on top of this. If you're a fan of walnuts in the fall, this dish is incredible. And it was a major hit at Thanksgiving. So I was looking for something different, looking for a non-potato option. Went with this primarily because of the walnut sauce. And yum, so good. And that, by the way, has almond milk in it. And I am a huge fan of almond milk. So keep that in mind if you like kind of experimenting and creating on your own in the kitchen with your garden harvest. So there you go. Oh, here's another good one. This is an appetizer that I used for a local garden club gathering, and it's her mustard roasted broccoli pate. So if you are someone who likes making pesto or using your mini Cuisinart, that's what I love to have out in the summer on my cupboard. That's one of the reasons why I picked this particular recipe. And this was very good. I served this with crackers and with julienne peppers and then carrots. And then also some slices of Vienna bread that I had cut into strips. So this was really great. Think of it as an alternative, a healthier alternative to a spinach dip. So anyway, I could go on and on. I still endorse this wonderful cookbook from Laura Wright. It gets 5 stars on Amazon. It got high praise from one of my favorite authors, Deborah Madison. And rightly so. This book is 296 pages of plant-based recipes that you can use for vegetable cooking ideas, seasonal cooking, and even whole food diets. So this is definitely something that should be on your list for 2022 and beyond. You can get a copy of The First Mess Cookbook by Laura Wright and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $7, which is insane because this cookbook is so timeless and so good. But this book has already been out 5 years, and I can't believe that. So there you go. That's what happens when these books have been out a while. You'll see used copies start to come out and that price gets driven down. So that's great. But as with all the books that I recommend, there are only a few books at that price. So if you're serious about getting your own copy of The First Mess Cookbook on Amazon, make sure to act quickly. All right, today's Botanic Spark celebrates the birthday of Louise Glück, the American poet and essayist. She was born on this day, April 22nd, in 1943. In 2020, Louise won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and her other awards include the National Humanities Medal, the National Book Award, the National Book Critics Circle Award, and from 2003 to 2004, Louise was the Poet Laureate of the United States. Louise is known for using her own experiences and nature as inspiration for her work. Her poems are emotive, frank, and very human. Louise once wrote, "My childhood, close to me forever, turned gold like an autumn garden." And in her poem, Snowdrops, Louise wrote, "I did not expect to survive, earth suppressing me. I didn't expect to waken again in the cold light of earliest spring." And finally, I thought we'd end the show today with an excerpt from Louise's poem, Witchgrass. Louise wrote, "I don't need your praise to survive. I was here first, before you were here, before you ever planted a garden." Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And just a reminder that you have a standing invitation to join the free Facebook group for listeners of the show. The next time you're over at Facebook, just search for Daily Gardener Community, where you'd search for a friend and then request to join. And if you'd like more of The Daily Gardener, you can subscribe to the newsletter over at thedailygardener.org. And don't forget that you can also show your support for the show by using the Buy Me a Coffee link over at the website or in today's show notes. This is Jennifer Ebling. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.